There are so many gaps and mistakes in this report that members should follow the example of Lancashire in North Yorkshire and tell the Director to come back with another report once RATHLIN have answered all the questions. We know that Connaught are disposing of all their Canadian assets to concentrate on the UK. We also know that RATHLIN have left Northern Ireland and are closing down Crawberry Hill to concentrate on Holderness. RATHLIN are so confident about the outcome of the meeting today that they have at last admitted the potential of West Newton could mean 15 to 20 years of gas production. With Quadrilla's licence near Driffield and licences due to be issued from Flamborough to Pocklington, who doubts East Riding is in the front line of fracking in the UK? Remember, RATHLIN have the EA permit to do another mini-frack at West Newton A, so this report gives them permission to do it. The latest video revelations from activists highlights the possibility that a mini fall-off test there in August 2014 led to the major problems with well pressure, which required dramatic intervention and eventually led to the well closure. If RATHLIN and East Riding are truthful, what is to stop members inserting a no fracking condition in the planning permission? I'm sure David Montagu-Smith would welcome that. But are we really supposed to believe that East Riding will forgo all the financial rewards and incentives for fracking, including the £1 billion bribe offered by the Chancellor yesterday? To quote a previous objector, "We are Yorkshire and we are not stupid." This is the sixth report asking us to believe that 30 million has been allocated to a temporary exploration. This report insults the intelligence of residents and members of the committee by stating that the application is allowable in terms of visual impact as long as it finishes in 3 years and the land is restored to its former use, which is what they said last time, and RATHLIN have ignored it. How can you possibly give approval to an applicant who has a history of 100% failure of the temporary condition, which is specifically there to protect the landscape, the visual amenity and the well-being of residents and wildlife? Every application for gas exploration in the UK uses identical statements about the good of the economy and the importance of energy security. So will Connaught RATHLIN demonstrate their patriotism by continuing to produce gas in the East Riding, even if there is no profit to cover their £30 million investment? Of course not. The history of Connaught RATHLIN proves the point. Gas prices on the world market have tumbled by 2/3 since RATHLIN resumed operations here in 2014. This is why Connaught are selling up in Canada before the price falls lower. This is why RATHLIN are pulling out of Northern Ireland. Perhaps this explains the haste with which this report is drawn up. Perhaps Connaught RATHLIN have been talking up the value of their assets here before a sale. Members of the Planning Committee have seen this many times before and know that to sell a property with planning permission is more lucrative. It makes sense, knowing the obvious financial difficulties experienced by Connaught RATHLIN at the moment. The oil and gas companies like to emphasise the heavy regulations they have to conform to. The Director goes further and gives the very heavy regulation of the industry as one of his formal reasons for decision. Every one of the many breaches of the planning permissions by RATHLIN started with local residents or protectors in their camps. The Director, like RATHLIN, has dismissed most complaints as trivial, and it took a huge effort to get action from the Environment Agency and the Health and Safety Executive. In conclusion, members do not have sufficient information to make a decision today. Some members were clearly unhappy about the West Newton B decision last June, but could do nothing to oppose the advice of the Director. Hours later, Richard Val and I were present for the first decision of the afternoon meeting, where the same members overturned the recommendation of officers to allow additional wind turbines at Withenwick. In view of the poor quality of this report and the gaps in information, members should defer a decision until there is a full independent investigation of what really caused the delays at West Newton A last summer, an explanation of Connaught RATHLIN's strategic plans for East Riding, and straight answers to straight questions from objectors about the obvious lack of capacity of the regulatory agencies, including the East Riding, to monitor regulations and address breaches. To do otherwise would be to fail the members' duty to put the best interests of residents first. Alternatively, members, including the Chair, could simply vote against the Director's recommendation on the grounds used for Withenwick. Quote, over-industrialisation of a rural area and the cumulative impact with the existing permission to drill at West Newton B. And they could finish this long-running farce.